And we should be live. Okay, welcome everyone. We have already 20 people attending. Good afternoon, good evening. Is it good morning for some people? No, only good afternoon, good evening. Hope you're having a great Wednesday. Okay, we have 25 more people joining. I'm gonna give it a couple of minutes for more people to join, and then I'm gonna start. So we already have the panelists here waiting for the discussion to start. Okay, I think we can start. Welcome everyone, I'm Emma. I'm the host and the moderator of the panel discussion today. I'm very excited for you to be part of this very cool event. It's another GreekTech Talks event, and I'm particularly excited because it's about women in tech. So this event is organized by GreekTech and also Greek, what's the name of the organization again? So it's Greek Women in Tech and Science. And for anyone who doesn't know about GreekTech, is a non-profit organization that's trying to empower early stage founders to build great startups, but also create a community of like-minded people in Europe, in the US. So I'm gonna start with the agenda of the event today, just for everyone to know what to expect. So as you have seen from the invitation, today we're going to talk about female representation in tech, and specifically in leadership roles. We're also going to talk about COVID. I don't love this topic. COVID has taken over our lives, but we're going to talk about COVID in the concept of the workplace, and also we're going to talk about how to lead through a crisis. I want to make it a very interactive conversation for the panelists, but also for everyone attending the webinar. So there's going to be some polls that you will be able to, like, let's say, give some information about yourself. Where are you based? What are you doing? And also, you're going to be able to ask some questions directly through the Q&A or the chat. I think there's more the logistics, and I can jump directly into that. Maybe a short introduction about myself. So as I said, I'm Emma. I'm working for REMERGE. REMERGE is a German startup. We're focusing on within the AgTech ecosystem, and I'm running the global revenue team, currently based in New York. And we can get to know the panelists. Maybe Marilee, do you want to start?
Yeah, that sounds good. Thank you so much, Emma. Yeah, my name is Marilee. I am based in San Francisco at the moment. I work for Google, where I lead voice recognition for Google Home devices. A lot of people ask me what that is. It's essentially Alexa for Google, which, you know, it's good and bad, but this is how people recognize it. I've been doing this for about 8 or 9 years, and it's been an amazing experience. I started my journey with technology in London when I did a PhD in computer science and epidemiology at Imperial College in London. And then slowly I worked at Facebook as an intern. And then I went from being an intern to working at Google in London. And then I got relocated to San Francisco.
Awesome, thank you, Marilee. Elomida, do you want to go next?
Do I want to go next? You say so. Hi, everyone. She's the best, right? She's so good at this. Everyone is like, ah, and no, you, Emma, you're the best. Thank you so much. And hi, everyone. We are lots of women, I hope, and men here, obviously. So I am CEO and co-founder of a music startup and music development in a new breakground format that will make recorded music behave as if it's lively performed for you. So imagine that you just press a track and say, okay, let me listen to this song, and suddenly the song can respond to your movement and change according to your breathing or your heart rate, do crazy stuff, even know exactly what the regime of your workout is if you use it for fitness, and can actually go speed up or slow down according to what you're doing. So this is the idea of creating a more immersive and more fun and amazing engagement and experience of music when it's actually we listen to it paired with an activity. And that could be fitness, which is our first foray, but definitely could be AR, VR, and many other fun stuff. So that's us.
Awesome, very cool. And then Alexandra, do you want to give a short introduction about yourself?
I'll go for it. Thank you, Emma. Hello, everyone. It's really great to be here with everyone in the panel and everyone in the audience. So I'm Alexandra Choli. I'm a partner and founder of Metavallon.VC. We are a very early stage fund based in Athens, Greece. We invest in high technology, deep tech primarily, so not so much marketplaces, let's say, pretty much anywhere in the world with some connection to Greece. So usually it's Greek founders or a Greek member in the team that we invest in. We already have 23 companies in our portfolio and an exit in our 2.5 years of operations so far. So we're very happy about this. I am a mechanical engineer by training. So once an engineer, always an engineer. I also did my MBA in my favorite city on earth, New York. So I'm very, very jealous of everyone that's there right now. Although Athens is a pretty cool place to be during COVID, I have to admit. So yes, you guys feel free to connect with me, on LinkedIn should you want to chat after this panel. Thank you.
Awesome. And thank you so much, Alexandra and Marley. I know it's late for you. You're currently in Greece, so we really appreciate taking the call that late. And last but not least, Rania, tell us about yourself.
Thank you, Emma. Hi, everyone. Great to be here. I'm Rania. I'm a design director at IBM, based currently in Manhattan, at the heart of it, of everything happening. And just a year ago, I got transferred from London after I was working with IBM in the studio in London and other companies. And my studies, I'm a designer by trade, started on graphic design and then human-computer interaction design. And I've also worked a few years in Greece. So I've done kind of the Athens, London, New York City. So any questions, please feel free. Thanks, Emma. Thanks, everyone.
Awesome, cool. Now that we got to know the panelists, I also want to get to know the audience. So I'm going to start with a few polls. Let's see if I can do this. Then you should be able to see a question popping up in your screen. Panelists, please also vote, so I get a feeling where everyone is based. I'm going to wait for a couple of seconds. Okay, it looks we're almost 50-50. Okay, so I'm gonna end the poll so everyone can see the results. So we have 63% of people based in the US and the rest 40% in Europe. Okay, USA. Let's get the next one. You should be able to see another pop-up now. So I want to see how many people are currently working in tech. And I'm assuming most of us are in tech, but I'll be surprised if that's not the case. Couple of more seconds. Okay, I'm ending the poll and sharing results. So as expected, most of us are currently working in tech. And then the last poll for now, that's very relevant to our discussion. So I want to understand from your perspective, from the attendees, how well would you say are females represented within tech? That's going to be a highly discussed topic. So I want to see what the audience thinks. Are we aligned? Yes or no? A couple of more seconds just to make sure people have time to vote. Okay, I'm ending the poll. And the results are, so almost 80% think that females are not well represented within leadership roles in tech. 19% says it's adequate and only 5% think it's very good. Okay, thank you so much for answering my poll. So I guess most of you are right. In terms of for me to start a discussion, I'm gonna share some statistics to give some context on what's actually currently happening. So according to some reports from McKinsey and Silicon Valley Bank, only 12% of engineers at Silicon Valley startups are currently women. only 5% of leadership positions within tech are held by women. And also women make only 9% of the partners within the 100 venture capital firms. And last but not least, which is a very interesting statistic, more than 20% of women still hold a junior position after the age of 35. So on purpose, I picked different statistics because we have a very diverse audience. So as you heard, like Rania and Marley are coming from more like the corporate world, whereas Alexandra and Elomida are coming from the startup world. So we can hear like different perspectives and different insights. With that being said, I can kick off the discussion, and maybe Alexandra, so the numbers don't lie. Females are underrepresented in fintech. Also, the audience would agree with that. From your perspective, why do you think that's the case? And particularly for you, what are the challenges you have faced getting a role within tech, and specifically within leadership in tech?
So this is obviously a huge issue to tackle in a quick answer. So I want to talk about a domino effect, perhaps, that we should be aware. So in technology and business and investments, we are affected, I feel, by history, and starting with history in education. So we see the history in education sees women only start entering universities in 1800s, which is incredible. I really wanted to look it up, and I was shocked. And that's when we actually started, entering universities. So our societies are used to seeing more men in positions where education is required, and that is technology, that is business and investment. So both because of this access already existing, and because women were tasked, this is a reality, for decades with taking care of the family. These are barriers that are dropping, but they have created a social bias. So let's say with this social bias and stereotypes, these elements are affecting our decisions inevitably. So there is, again, this survey that I was looking up that was done by Microsoft, and they found that young girls in Europe, they become interested in STEM equally at the age of 11 as boys in their classes. And by the age of 15, they have almost completely lost interest. And it's incredible because, of course, it's obvious that these young girls are they're looking around, and what they're seeing is friction and low prospects and lack of support that drives women away from universities eventually and from the market. What are these girls seeing is, again, a huge lack of role models. So again, this huge domino effect. Women are, they're more low-key, they're less loud, they're less self-promoting. And these are elements, of course, that have nothing to do with the capacity and the capability in tech, but they reflect what women see at the earlier stages. And finally, of course, it's the everyday. So directly, indirectly, there is criticism. And sadly, to tell you the truth, I've seen it both from women and from men. And I'd love to hear, the stories from the other panelists as well in this. So quickly for myself, I've lived this, from the very early stage. I grew up in what we would call rural Greece. So I didn't grow up in Athens. And actually, even playing football was too much for my society. So deciding to study mechanical engineering got really heads turning, and that was even in the UK that I was studying. So that was only 15 years ago. Only 15 years ago, it was strange for a woman to study mechanical engineering. So my answer to this, actually, it was to go even bolder. So I would always make my own way, and then I created my own position, and I started my own business, and I've been, the best hire in the company. So that was kind of my work around the whole, situation. Thank you.
Thank you. I can relate to the sports topic. I also used to play basketball, and it was a very male-dominated sport. There's not a lot of women playing basketball. And funny enough, male basketball is very famous in Greece, not female basketball. So I can relate to that. Cool. Rania, what do you think? What's your opinion on that? Why do you think females are so underrepresented in tech?
Yes, I mean, first of all, I'll echo everything Alexandra said, right? Everything from the way we enter universities, the culture, the way we're raised. And I had a very similar situation when you said you wanted to do design when I was 15 years old and I was in Athens, everybody like, oh, you're just going to be an artist. Like, you're not going to get a real job. That was 15 years ago, right? So, and I have people now reaching me out of school. Oh, actually, you made it work. I was like, yes, I did. So it's unfortunately is the truth, but I see a lot of good progress, you know, and even now, like there's a lot of people going to tech, going to design, but it's how do we keep that momentum? So definitely a lot of things have changed in the past 15 years. I mean, I still would go back to like the early age. I know we usually tackle or try to tackle the problem like after you get the job or after you get the university, or even when you try to climb the leadership roles, but it does start. So there's a difference between want to have women interested into tech and pursue that, right? This is one chunk that starts with education, starts with advertising, all these things that we know how heavily are male, female. So that's one thing to tackle. And then it's like, okay, after we get them through the door and the statistics, you saw that, okay, there is an equal representation. That's where you see that bro culture, right? Especially in the culture engineering. And then women are like, I give up, or I don't want to deal with this, or I'm just the only female in a room of 50, which a very common case. I'm sure also, Marilee, you can share that, like for me, projects, clients. So it's kind of like those two things I see as issues. One's like, how do we tackle that at the early age, like 5, 6 years old, versus how do we tackle that in that kind of mid-20s, let's say, or late 20s, early 30s, that you want to jump into a more like leadership role. And boldness is true. I've had even this year, moving also from London to New York, telling me things that, Rania, this is impossible, you're too ambitious, or you're asking too much. It's like, even now that I was already in a senior position, I keep hearing those things, but I've trained myself to shut down, you know, cut off the noise and do what I have to do. And of course, being good at your job, right? That we always have to prove ourselves 10 times more. So it's kind of how you navigate that noise and getting a good support systems like this. Women in Greece, women in tech. That's how I see the dynamic so far.
Yeah. Marilee, do you want to picking back on that, talking about the engineering world?
Yes, absolutely. So in my experience, every time someone said no to me, it actually meant 3 yeses for me. So I was the only girl in the computer lab at my school, and boys were at the corner and I was in my own corner. It was always me being on my own. But the more alone I was, the more I wanted to make it work, right? And thank God I had these amazing parents that kept pushing and hoping, and because they saw this is what I love doing, and they said, okay, this is what you want to do, we'll help you do it, right? So I think that we need to go back again to schools, but we need to educate people. We need to educate, first of all, the kids to not think that if you're in tech, you would just have headphones and code all day in a dark room. And also the parents with the benefits of this wonderful career and all the benefits and how you can really change the world with AR, VR, healthcare, everything. You asked an interesting question before, which was, hey, what were your challenges in order to get a senior position? And my main challenge was that I didn't have anyone to give me advice. So I studied AI, it was great, but I didn't want to code all day. And then there is this role, it's called product management, but I didn't know what that was. And thankfully, I met someone, she became my mentor, and she said, hey, things are not black and white in tech, right? So you can either code all day as you want, or there's this spectrum of roles you can choose. And she actually opened my eyes, and it was super great. So awareness, mentorship, and starting early is super, super, super important. And I know things are pretty bad with the numbers you shared, but I want to, throw in a kind of warmer, kind of more positive note.
Positive vibe, yeah.
Things are changing, and things are changing just because of talks like this and of women in tech groups and of people going to schools to talk to people and girls and boys and say, hey, computer science is not for boys, it's for everyone. Like, design is for everyone as well. So I'm happy these initiatives are here, and I'm happy we are talking about it because awareness and mentorship is the most important part.
Totally. Elomida, what are your thoughts on everything the girls shared? Would you agree? Would you disagree? Would you add something on top of that?
I mean, I hear a lot of personal stories, but the question is why is that a systemic or not? And it is. It is something that is happening not just in Greece, not just in Europe. It is a global phenomenon. 10% of women in tech in specific, or 15 or 16 if you're big companies like IBM, for instance, or Google, are women in their tech areas, whereas there are other areas like advertisement, for instance, is more or mainly dominated by women, at least on middle or senior positions. So I want to make a distinction between chiefs and Indians. So we have, I say that because we need to see both problems, right? We have,
no, it's accurate.
In 2018, Google realized that we had less young female programmers and developers rather than 20 years ago. So that was the first shock. We used to have in the 70s and 80s 37%, and suddenly we dropped at 18%. So what happened there? And now we're talking about the last 20 years. It's a big thing. Number two, how many of those women go into the leadership? We drop to 2, 3, 9, depending on the vector, on the vertical. So this is a problem worldwide. Problems of any there are two ways to tackle problems. Mechanical. I press people to start educating yourselves at schools. There's a system there. And there is obviously the cultural. Is there an unbiased, let's say, unconscious bias towards women when they go get hired? So these are the two levels we need to attack. And it could be the same if you wanted to become a chef. It's also a superman, male-dominated area. So the only way I can find that, and because we are women as a solution, is as mothers, and mostly women, collaborate, educate, and push for both change on a cultural level and an educating level. And thank God, on the educating sector, we have more women. So there you are. First start should be a first grade or the kindergarten, where kids are actually playing with Lego, regardless of their sex, and dolls, regardless their sex. So you teach a boy how to care with a doll, and you teach a girl how to be precise on a construction with a Lego. And I have two daughters. I've seen it all, right?
Totally. I think we can all agree it starts from very early age, and it's so important, the awareness and the education to start very early age. So you all share like a very interesting points and perspectives. I want to also give some, let's say, tips and tricks for people in the audience for how you have specifically able to tackle all the challenges we just discussed. What has worked well for you? Marilee talked a bit about mentorship and how important is mentorship for our careers. I'm hoping that this community creates opportunities for other people to find mentors and obviously network. So giving like some insights on tips and tricks, maybe Marilee, do you want to share from your perspective what has worked well for you, and why would you recommend to other females or males that are trying to get into tech, and specifically leadership roles within tech?
Yep, absolutely. This is the advice I would give myself, essentially, which is stop being shy. Okay, so as I said, I used to be at the corner, and this meant that I didn't have many friends at school, and my interests were different than other people's interests, and that made me shy because I didn't have people to talk to about this. First of all. Second of all, I thought that there was something wrong with me being different, okay? So my first tip is stop being shy. And how does that translate to COVID world, right? This translates to COVID by having a LinkedIn profile that reflects who you are, okay? You don't need to have a bunch of things, right? You just need to lay out who you are in a very professional manner and just reach out to people, write a really nice message. People may respond, people may not respond, right? But you can say, hey, I looked at your profile. I actually look up to you. I have a couple of questions. I want to enter the domain you're at. So can you help me? What did you do? This sort of thing. Or just do your research. Create your pantheon of people you admire and kind of try to not follow their steps, but be inspired in order to take all that and make it your own, right? So pave your own path. So stop being shy, very important. Life will change if you're not shy. Number two, you will fail, okay? Before joining Google, I interviewed two of these companies. I got rejection letter after rejection letter. It was, at some point I was just interviewing, I knew what was gonna happen, but you get better and better and better. So practice makes it. So what I tell people is, hey, don't be afraid of rejection, because you know sometimes life just brings it your way, and at the end of the day, if something is a miss, other things are going to be a win for you. So that's the other thing. And the last thing is engage in mentorship, both upwards, but also downwards. What does that mean? If there is a student or like a little kid or anything, just like help them, give them advice. Because if you do that, it's like a karma. It will come back to you. You will learn from the student. They will introduce you to someone, or reach out to people and ask for help. So I received a scholarship from Google in order to do my PhD. And I didn't know about this scholarship. And someone just sent me an email and said, hey, there's this that could be interesting to you, because we had this discussion the other day. So share your plans and dreams with people. Don't be shy. Reach out to people and create a professional online presence, because it pays dividends. I could not encourage people to do this more. And in order to enter tech, there are thousands of roles in tech. You don't need to code in some roles. They're entry level, some are graduate level, some are apprenticeships. There are so many opportunities. All people need to do is go to the website and research what's out there. And some people don't even do this, or some people don't think they're good enough to apply. Let me tell you, you're good enough to apply. Apply. And if you get rejected, that's fine. You'll keep going and you'll get it right at one day. So that's it. That's my inspirational talk.
Absolutely, I agree with you. Resilience is so important. Just a quick note. So if you see some people from the audience raising their hand, so for now, please share all your questions through the chat or the Q&A. And at the end of the panel discussion, I will see how much time we have left. And either I'll pick up the question myself, or I'll let people ask the question directly. Right now, everyone is muted. I see some people raise their hand. I'm monitoring it. I'll make sure you ask your questions at the end of the discussion. Cool, Elomida, from your perspective, what tips would you share?
Okay, again, let's see what most people suffer from. Most of men in tech, and that's a Silicon Valley survey, I think, a year or two before. 35%, 32% of women suffer from the balance home and work, right? So this is something to remember. And all the rest, I find problems that every human has, like not feeling they have the skills, or being the imposter problems, or the syndrome, or this or the other. I find more generic to both sexes, but having support, in my opinion, is a big thing. So I say that because if women and men are paid the same salaries, that makes an employer actually not to discriminate, even unconsciously, right? And when women and men are equally parents, then you do have equal anxiety about performing our own levels, home and work. So this is very important. Young girls delay their careers very, very much, significantly, because of that reason. So it's one of the first that you can attack. And when I say get support, if you're Greek, you can get your mom to work with you. But if you're non-Greek, basically is a support of women and men together in that. And hopefully bigger companies now offer that in beautiful programs. But even at the level of a friend's relation, yes, you can get support from other parents. That's to wrap up quickly what's the biggest challenge women in tech have. What I would say, resilience is obviously very important. And Marilee, I can't even say how much I agree with what you said. There are so many ways that you will be rejected. So never forget that the rejection is just a rejection. It's like an actress that says someone says no to a role. It doesn't mean that they won't go to the next audition. So see yourselves like stars, right? And this way
I like that.
yes, you will definitely say, I'm a star. This is not my role. There will be another role for me. I love what one of my co-workers said to me. Manny, he's a lead engineer. He said, dude, if you don't know something and you don't get it, just ask. You know, that's all. Just ask us. Don't hide it. Just go and actively ask. That will save your life and also will make you open up new windows. So don't be afraid to ask, what is this? I don't get it. I need more information. I want to be part of this. And definitely I want to have an opinion. That's why I'm asking. The other things, it's humility and kindness and things which are so female, and I think someone from London, Amalia, said that we lack that in every working environment, and women, we can bring it, right? So this is important. And definitely don't criticize yourself, because somebody else will do it anyway. Don't start first, okay? So just save that for some other day. So do your stuff, ask a lot of questions. Don't be afraid to actually ask. Look dumb, it's okay. Then you'll come up with something cool. And stay there and be kind, even when you're super pissed off. It's okay, be kind. At the end of the day, these people, you're there to win them and not to be in a war with them.
Totally. Thank you so much. So I'm going to move to the next topic of the discussion, because we are already halfway through the hour. And as I said earlier, we're going to talk a bit about COVID, COVID in the workplace. I want to discuss with all of you, how has COVID impacted your workplace? And specifically, in a sense, how we collaborate with our teams, how we manage our teams, and also if there's any, what are the activities or the actions that you have taken to try to keep your team engaged, motivated. I really like Marilee's positive vibe. I want to keep it up, and I want to hear from your side, what have you done to keep momentum and engagement and positivity while we all going through so turbulent times. And maybe Alexandra, you can jump into that and let us know your thoughts.
Sure. So how has COVID affected essentially the workplace, right? So we've had some discussions also offline, and I feel that there is this concept that perhaps women have been negatively affected or will be negatively affected by COVID. And I want to take this from, you know, the women's side because of the panel. And I may be a little bit contrarian here. So I want to bring a couple of different perspectives than the ones I've heard, so bear with me. And happy to hear all other, of course, experiences from all the other panelists. In truth, I feel that COVID may actually be a benefit to women in the workplace. First, I actually know, and there are many women that can now claim jobs. So for example, part-time remote jobs, if they're raising a family, that they wouldn't otherwise. So all because remote is actually becoming more prevalent and acceptable. So that is in tech almost everywhere. And also, what I believe is that remote maybe at least be reducing politics, and social bias is a big part. It's a tool in work politics. So at the same time, and as a result, the reduced effect of politics, remote may also be highlighting the actual results each employee is delivering. I feel that in our team, it's so much clearer, what is done and what it's not. And I feel that this can only be to the benefit of women and to anyone who's affected by the clouding of actual performance with anything other than, the actual performance and the results. And so I'm very, very much in support of remote work and of managing remote teams and collaborating with them. I feel that we can find ways, and we are increasingly finding ways. And there are things that are lacking, but we can work on them.
That's a nice spin. I haven't thought of that. That's a good one. Thanks.
Thanks, Elomida.
That's a good, nice.
Rania, what's your perspective on this?
Yes, I mean, I like what Alexandra said. I think I'm not in favor or against, right? There are definitely, one thing is that definitely something happened. For example, before the pandemic, I was in an airplane every week, Monday to Thursday, right? So you can understand basically the lifestyle, because it was more in the consulting. It was like very intense, but you make sure you organize your life, I guess, around that. And there was big issues, of course, with families. It's a whole other discussion. So the work remotely definitely gives that sense of flexibility. However, I think the sweet spot does lie in between, because we have a lot of discussion actually, and within my team and with IBM, and I can talk a bit more about those challenges and why we're tackling it, back to your question, Emma. But you cannot really foster culture remotely as good as you can face to face. And that has been, there are people that are doing studies, questionnaires, surveys. So we keep seeing that fine balance of, okay, is it 2-3 days in a location so you can actually have that human interaction, brainstorm, on the whiteboard, and actually, I mean, I'm also, leading more of creative teams, and it's much needed, that I guess with developer or engineering teams. And can you still have those 2-3 days working from home? So it's finding that balance eventually, that I think we're also going to. There's so many retail locations now that are going to close down, but they want to foster this, okay, 50% in the office, 50% remotely. So I think that is really good, where it's going to come out of it. Now, in the challenges part, it's like we were asked to go straight to the crisis management in a week, right? Suddenly, I mean, the good thing, at least in my role, and with most tech companies, we were used to working remotely, especially in the US. So I already had those 2 days, working in different locations. But few challenges that arise is the team, of course, like something that I could just, turn around and say, hey, can I say something on your work? Now it has to be a 30-minute Slack call and Zoom call. So suddenly my day is 8 o'clock till 8 p.m. in Zoom calls, and have to do the work somewhere between and after. And I'm sure a lot of leaders are facing that with teams and different time zones. So a few things that I generally believe goes back to, and I think Elomida touched upon those, women are really good, trust, empathy, they're all coming back more than ever. This work-life balance. Somebody said, I live at work and I work where I live, so it's kind of respecting this new environment. I mean, at IBM, we did this work from home plates. I'm sure every company did their own rules, or how can we formalize this a bit more, so there are some boundaries. So there's definitely a lot of challenges, but it does go back to trust and compassion. Or I had the other day, one of my team members literally last moment telling me, today my mental health is not in a good state, I need a day off. If this was in the past, probably you go through a process to get a day off, at least usually in the corporates. Now it was okay, let's figure out what we can do now and just take the day off instantly, and I'll take the responsibility as a leader to work it out with the team. So it's those things, and being extremely adaptable, I think, going back to the resilience, that can help. And everybody's navigating this now. I don't think anybody has all the answers. So yeah, totally. That's what I've been seeing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I want to extend to what you said about how do we lead through a crisis. I was actually reading a report from McKinsey earlier today, and it said that there's 4 different qualities that are very important for a leader to navigate through a crisis. And then it was a lot of things you guys said. So compassion, empathy, vulnerability, and awareness. And I want to specifically ask you, why would you say female leaders are better positioned to navigate such an environment in terms of leading an organization, leading a team, or leading their own family, on how to navigate such a turbulent environment? And I want to hear first Elomida's thoughts on that, because as you said, you have two daughters. I know you are like a CEO of a founder of a company. You have a family. You're doing so many different things. From your perspective, why would you say, as females, we are better positions to lead through a crisis?
Good question. I'm not convinced about that. And I'm sorry if I sound weird, but I know that
totally.
every leader is challenged by a crazy moment like this one. This is not a gradual change. This is like a crazy overnight pandemic. Generally, pandemic are good for women, pandemics, right? So the Spanish flu gave us the right to vote. And what was the other one? The Black Plague gave us the right to own property and have businesses. Hello. So it takes a pandemic, but we get somewhere. So in that sense, this pandemic basically gave us the ability to do things that make sense, like caring for your team. This is pretty much what a leader is. You have to think of them. There are goals for the company. You need to pursue productivity and pursue the business to stay there and prioritize that the team will exist. All these things are a leader. A leader in panic is making sure that the whole team are there. And you care in the same way you're counting your people around you in the case of an emergency. So this is pretty much what we can do very well, which is care and concentrate and gather. And that, I believe, saved the day. Now, in the long run, the pandemic will bring new things in our lives. I don't know what leaders will do about that, but definitely, male or female, the leaders who will survive will be those that they manage to keep their teams engaged and working out solutions. And it's a big, big deal to have people actually taking your hand and going through craziness.
Absolutely. And I would also totally agree that leadership starts with caring, and especially in a moment like that, how important it is, because there's also the professional challenges and there's so many personal challenges on the side, especially for the people living in the US. I don't want to talk about politics or anything else, but there's a lot of things around us that might impact how we feel. So caring about our loved ones, cared about our team, cared about our employees is super, super important. So Marilee, I want to hear also your thoughts about it. I know you're a young mom, and you're trying to navigate many different things. So what are your thoughts about it?
This is gonna sound really bad, but I am.
Go for it.
My daughter is 2 months old, okay, and I gave birth in January, which means that from November I was stuck at home. So when March kicked in and I found out that my husband would be at home with me, it was great. This sounds really bad, okay. But on a different note, I echo what Rania said, and everything that has happened now is leading us towards a hybrid model, where we want our team to feel as comfortable as possible, because we realize that they can still produce amazing work even if we don't see each other every day, right? So I think a hybrid model is something that will work very, very, very well and resonate with people. A model where, they don't have to go through requests for approvals for getting time off is super, super great. But also new fun activities for team bonding is an interesting idea. So what we did is we had, for example, online trivia, quizzes. Some were great, some were boring, but it was a fun thing. We had music. We would all log in and someone would choose a song and we would all improvise by playing music. So I was playing the piano, someone was playing violin. It was a disaster, but it was fun. And we felt that we were close together as well. Again, one thing that COVID did impact during this time is the more junior folks. And that means that I just joined the team in the company and I want to network and I want my work, you know, to have exposure all the way up. But people don't get that. So we need to rethink about the junior levels and how we can give them the growth they need and the mentorship and the support. And I don't think we've solved the problem. I'd be more than open to ideas on how we can solve this problem, but you know, there's still some, as mentioned, risk assessment and some panic workarounds we need to make.
Thank you. Rania and Alexandra, that's an interesting question. So I want to make sure you also have some time to share your thoughts. Is there anything else you want to add to what Elomida and Marley said?
Rania, do you want to go?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's really echoing what you already said, right? And it's kind of like everyone, as Elomida says, this is a pandemic. I mentor a lot of new also designs. One of my ways of giving back. Usually I have like 2 hours allocated to just designers around the world, right? And I usually get the same question: how to start, how to do this, you know, the pandemic. So there is, I think everybody has been affected. The question is, you know, it's different when you have kids or not kids, single, not single. So let's start with the fact that everybody has their own things going on. Now, in terms of like, if you're working in tech specifically, I already feel like we're in a more like, you know, leverage situation that we work in tech and we can do the work remotely. So then we just have to figure out the dynamics. So it really goes back to, okay, the world is actually shifting and just part of this is the workplace. I don't think anybody has tackled yet. I think we're all trying to figure out. And going back to, yeah, the points, the ones who try to crack it are the most adaptive, are the ones who are gonna survive. So yeah, Alex, to you, thank you.
Sure, and I just want to add a little bit on what you guys said before and what Elomida said about female leaders. I feel that as women, having more of this, let's say, female energy, being more empathetic, more tuned in other people and concerned about other people, having this higher capacity to feel, perhaps, I believe that this is what makes great leaders, especially in these trying times. Rather than pushing through and thinking through problems, I think it's time, it's about understanding what other people may be going through and having them feel understood, and this way enabling them to overcome issues and to perform more than anything. So yeah, female leaders.
Can
Awesome.
I also say that the meetings
Yeah,
are shorter now? They're like 25 minutes to half an hour, which I love it. It's because we have so many, nothing else can happen other than meet with people. I receive calendar invites for like 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 25 minutes. That's so awesome.
Awesome, thank you.
I support that.
Thank you so much. In terms of time management, we have 10 minutes left. So I want to make sure I also address some questions from the audience. So I had some people raising a hand before. So whoever wants to ask a question directly, I want to make sure I give you the opportunity. So if you raise your hand right now, I will be able to unmute you and you can ask a question to me or to any of the panelists.
Or they can write the questions.
Yeah, we can write the question. Yes, so there is already one question from the chat. Question coming from, yeah, so there's a question, maybe Marley can answer that. So the question coming from the chat is about jumping into tech without a technical background. Is there any advice on how to navigate that?
Yeah, so the summary is you can do it. You don't need a 4-year degree or a master's or a PhD. All you need to do is go to Coursera and do Programming 101 and just learn the basics, see how things work, understand what an API is, what architecture is, so that you know the basics. Don't go, I mean, if you don't have a degree for 4 years and you still love coding and you're passionate about it, it's great. I would advise taking a look at the careers website. There are so many different options, as I said before. You don't need to code all day. There are so many options: technical program management, project management. You can do hundreds of things. So it is possible, it is great. If you do want to be a software engineer, it may be more than one Coursera course, but there are websites, there is Lead Code that can teach you how to code. There are books, there is Cracking the Coding Interview book. It's a huge book, but if you read it and can solve all these problems, you can just pass the interviews and become a software engineer. So it's great. You can do it. It's wonderful. You will need some more catching up to do if it's a technical role, but I strongly advise it, and I think it's totally worth it. And you should not be intimidated or scared in any way, because other people may have degrees and PhDs and things, but you can catch up if you're passionate enough. So don't be afraid of it, and just reach out to me, add me on LinkedIn. I am more than happy to give you links and tell you where to go about entering tech.
Awesome, thank you, Marilee. Are there any other questions? Again, you can raise your hand or you can add them in the chat. Okay, I'll wait for a couple of more minutes just to make sure I give you the opportunity to ask questions. Okay, cool. We can wrap it up. We have 8 more minutes. I want to thank you so much for being with us today. First of all, the panelists, badass, inspiring, accomplished women. I'm very proud of all of you, and I'm very proud for us trying to create community, try to inspire other people. It's so important. I want to give you the opportunity to give a last, anything you want to share, anything that's in your mind, anything you think is relevant for the panelists or for the attendees. Elomida, do you want to go first and give your final thoughts?
You guys are good. They're very nice. It's so nice to talk to young women, and it's incredible. I hope we stay all connected with that, and we can have more questions, and we're happy to answer them. There are 2 points I want to touch. One is personal, and one is not about women and tech. And I apologize from everyone. The personal one is that we want to create, as a company, Weav Music wants to create a hub in Athens. So we are looking for very good engineers always. In our site, you will see on our careers what kind of engineers, but I'm also looking for a super amazing like the person to turn to, who will care for everyone, but for me too, for an EA
people stuff.
Right, okay, people stuff. So right, so that is one. And if you want to reach me on LinkedIn or go straight into our website and answer there. And the second one is an amazing day, because we have probably one very big day. We have 68 MPs going to jail, I think, or something. But in any case, Χρυσή Αυγή, the Golden Dawn, found guilty. That's cool. And we're like this amazing country that these things can happen, and it's very interesting. So I wanted just to say that I'm very happy for these news. We hit the global news today with this. Okay.
Thank you, Elomida, for sharing. I think it's a very big day for democracy. And like, I saw it this morning on the news, and I started sharing with everyone. And at some point I started crying for some reason. I got emotional. So as Greeks living away from Greece, there's things like that happen about your country. You're so proud, and you're like, so proud to be Greek. So it was an emotional moment for me when I shared with my family and my friends. Cool. Rania, some thoughts, final thoughts from your side?
Sure. I mean, definitely like what Elo said, you know, I guess I want to leave it in one thing, right? We are, first of all, thanks to all for joining, right? It's another, as I call it, Zoom meeting. So I hope it was worthwhile, right? With the Zoom fatigue is real, by the way, studies say that. But one thing is like going through the change, either in Greece or US or London or whatever, we are going through change route, right? And change brings courage. And I do believe that courage, resilience are the top cores, and as personalities and in our careers and in our lives. So there's one thing I want to leave it is try to take even the slightest positive thing out of this whole situation because it can be applied either in tech or non-tech, but I just see it still as a life lesson. So that's just one thing I want to give positive vibes there around. Change brings courage, and we should never underestimate that. And that's what's been basically happening. So non-related to design or tech. Thanks, Emma.
Thank you, Rania. Thank you. Alexandra, any thoughts from your side?
Sure. So I have to say I'm really inspired by all you girls, women. It's everything that you've said has resonated so much. It's like we've been living parallel lives, really. So sometimes it's good to know that you're not the crazy person. So perhaps for the people that are listening, but I guess even for us as panelists, this is a very special experience. I guess that what I'd like to close with is about the whole concept of going into tech, women going into tech, and going perhaps even for leadership roles. So the question, is it tougher, than for others? And of course it is. It will be much tougher. Is there a shortcut? No, there are no shortcuts. But the real question is it worth it? And that's absolutely yes. So, just go for it relentlessly, no excuses. Each person fights their own handicaps, even white males do. So what I know is that obstacles have made me so much stronger. I feel I belong in the position I'm in. I did not happen to land on it. And this gives me both confidence and a real advantage, I feel, in the market. And in truth, I enjoy people not see me coming, underestimating me. So I've learned to use this to my advantage. So yes, you have to fight for it harder. Yes, it's absolutely worth it. And yes, it has some hidden advantages that you find along the way, and they're going to be fun. So enjoy the journey.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And Marily, we will close with you.
Okay. I echo everything that was said. The extra thing I am going to say is that hope is not a strategy, meaning that you may be in a different profession and you may hope one day to get this amazing job, right? That's not how it works. You need to go back, make the baby steps, go back to studying like Coursera or anything, or reaching out to people. It's not going to happen on its own, okay? And the sooner you realize this, the better it's going to be. So that's number one. And the other two, because I love giving quotes, is aim for the moon. Even if you don't reach the moon, you may hit the star on the way back. So think big, go for it. It is worth it. It's not going to be easy, but who wants things to be easy, right? So it's all worth it. And just want to give a huge thanks to Emma for moderating this, and to Mario from GreekTech for...
Oh, Mario is just like the shadows.
Mario is camera shy. So for everyone on the panel, Mario is behind the scenes, the moderator, like supporting the technical details for the event, and he's camera shy, but he's the one,
Mario, show
little
up.
screen you can
Turn
see
on
there.
your camera, come
Oh,
on.
let's
And
take a photo, come on,
Mario, come on. We know you're there.
more Zoom screenshots.
Oh, yeah.
No pressure, Mario, but a big
No
thank you.
Pressure, yeah. But we won't leave this conversation.
Cool, I'm gonna wrap it up. It's almost like it's 5 p.m. here in New York. Thank you everyone for the panelists. Again, I'm very, very proud, and I'm very, very humbled that I have the opportunity to talk to you today and talk about such important topics. Everyone on the attendee, I hope that was an insightful conversation. As everyone shared, we're trying to create a community. So if you have more questions, if you have anything specific about my background or Elomida's background or anyone else, feel free to reach out to us on LinkedIn. We will be very happy to create like a bigger community and open more doors to you to talk to people and potentially offer mentorship opportunities. Just to sum it up the discussion, be bold, be positive, keep trying, be resilient. And I would say, especially for today, be proud to be Greek. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining, and enjoy the rest of your week and your evening. Bye.
You're welcome. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.